Okay, almost finished. Back on page 135 of the social studies book. Okay, and we're just going to start looking at our coastal vegetation. This will be quick. Okay, as these plants frequently get wet from the ocean or from the seawater and salt spray, they have to be specially adapted to the shoreline. So anything that lives near the sea, because it's not dealing with fresh water, okay, and it's dealing with quite salty water, it needs to be adapted for that reason. Okay, so let's move on to the next page. Okay, so there's different parts of the coast. The coast is essentially where the land meets the sea. So the most famous coastland in the Bahamas will always be our beaches, okay, where they meet each other. So the foredune, okay, we're talking about sand dunes here. So the foredune, the front of the beach, okay, you'll have, I just want to highlight an example, sea oats. All right, so if you've ever stood in some sea oats, you know sometimes they're a little bit prickly. I've added a note here, the foredune is the front of the sand dunes nearest the sea. Now, because it's nearest the sea, that means it's exposed, okay? There's a lot of water and there's a lot of salt and a lot of wind. So there's less vegetation found on the foredune. The main dune, okay, at the top or the back of the sand or the beach, there's a lot more shelter and the trees will start to grow and bushes will be bigger and present, okay? So again, if you look at any beach, as you walk down towards the water, there's less and less vegetation. As you walk back up, if you put your back to the ocean and start walking inland, the further you go, past the foredune, back up to the main dune, you'll find more shelter and more vegetation then. Okay? One last little bit, on to the next page, 137. Actually, sorry, I forgot to highlight just some examples. The sea grape and the casuarina. We're going to talk about casuarina in just a second. Okay? So they can be added there under what we've just done. Okay, so now to our exotic and invasive species. Okay, so there's a very clear difference between exotic and invasive. All right. Now, most of the plants described here are native plants. So what we've looked at have been mainly native, and they live comfortably alongside all other plants in their community. So native plants in a place bring no threat. They'll all just get along. They'll live together. They'll reproduce. They'll do whatever, and there'll be no problems. Unfortunately, some plants are introduced or arrive accidentally, and they may take over the ground and prevent the native plants from growing. These are known as exotic species. Okay, so they actually take over ground. They take up soil, and they prevent the native species from growing. Okay, that's exotic species. Okay, now the coconut is one example that arrived accidentally, but it's not really a nuisance, and it has been here so long we consider it a natural part of the vegetation. So the coconut tree is not actually native to the Bahamas. It was brought here. Okay, so I put coconut not native, but doesn't cause harm or take over, so it's called an exotic tree. Exotic is usually a term given to something from far away. All right. Now, on a different case, the casuarina is very different, quite different. It was introduced from Australia because it grows quickly and it can act as a windbreaker. Okay, and many people think it looks quite pretty. So what the idea was, people that lived near the sea, okay, it gets very windy the closer you are to the sea. So people thought, we want something that can grow fast and protect us from the wind and looks nice. So this casuarina tree was brought in. It's tolerant of seawater, so it can live in sandy areas along the shore, but its seeds and sap are poisonous to other plants. Okay, so it ends up killing all the native plants and being the only vegetation left. So this then actively kills other plants along the coast. All right. When the casuarina takes over, there is nothing to cover the sand, and coastal erosion becomes a big problem. So there's lots of problems. It ruins habitats for animals. It can cause erosion of the land, and so on. All right, and obviously it can kill other plants. Casuarina is called invasive as it is not native. It doesn't come from here, and also causes damage. It actively causes damage to the local vegetation. So there are two important examples. Okay. Okay, so that just says casuarina is considered an invasive species. Just to finish, okay, at the top of page 138, just a little kind of fun fact that I didn't actually realize until last year when I was teaching this. Other introduced plants that are common in the Bahamas include the poinciana, and the yellow elder, whose flower is actually the national flower of the Bahamas. So the yellow elder is not is not even a native species to here. Okay, so there's a little fact to finish on. Like I said, there's no assignment today, but you have a quiz next week, so please prepare for that by revising all your notes. I will email you on Sunday with details, so everybody's very clear about what to do. Okay.